Welcome to Mind Matters, where your mind matters. The podcast for love, life, and learning. Today, we have a wonderful couple on, the Joneses. This is a power couple for mental fitness. We have a chaplain who can take care of all your spiritual and other needs, and a wonderful social worker that can take care of a bunch of other mental health issues. What a dynamic duo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey.
This is going to be a great podcast today. We're going to go over kind of their story and some of the lessons about life, kids, marriage, lots of fun topics today. So we're going to dive into it. Very first is their story.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. So I like this part because there's my story. That's the truth.
Oh,
and then there's his story. And it's filled with lies. So we met in college at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2001. And that was when love blossomed for my husband that beautiful day. And then we just became friends after that because I was like, nah, son.
We went on a horrible date.
It was a horrible date.
She was the reason why the date was
I
horrible.
was the reason. See, it's not a bad story.
Is
Anyway.
this the definition of where friend zone started?
Yes.
Friend
Oh,
zone,
absolutely.
okay.
Because, I didn't want to date him. I was interested in an older man. And he was not interested in me. So, but Larry and I became besties. He was my lair bear. And he started calling me some silly name. Because apparently Holly is not a real name to him. So he
It's
called
short
me
for something.
Yeah.
It's named
like
the
Larry
flower.
is short for something.
Yeah.
But he said Holly was short for Helendria.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think anybody knows
silly
that. Nope.
answered to that. It's really ridiculous that I did that. Anyway, we graduated the same year, 2005, and he went back to Richmond. I stayed in Tulsa a little longer. By 06 or 07, we lost contact because he cut me off. And then
I couldn't continue to support her because she had been in love with me for such a long time.
it's ridiculous.
Everyone knew it, including her best friend. They all knew that she loved me. And so I had to stop that.
Yeah, if the best friend knew, it was for sure.
Yeah, I needed her to live her life. I didn't want her to be pining for me for years.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Anyway, so then I think a year and a half or something went by, and his crazy ex-girlfriend reached out. Crazy girlfriend at the time. Was it still dating?
I
Anyway,
think she was a girl.
connected to his last girlfriend, and then the last girlfriend reached out to me,
Because she knew that we were really close friends during
and then reconnected
college.
us.
Yeah. So it's her fault that she's not married right now.
Wow. The ex of an
I hope
ex
she doesn't
is
listen
the
to this,
matchmaker.
poor girl. Anyway, so yeah, lo and behold, 2008.
It was 2009.
2009, sorry, 2008 car accident, 2009, reconnected with this guy in March.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, after Mardi Gras. I had just gotten back from Mardi Gras with my family, and sure enough, it was a pleasant surprise to chat it up with him. And sure enough, by December of 2009, he asked me to be his last girlfriend.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So that was the start of a beautiful everything that is today.
And that is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but it.
That's mostly true.
Oh.
There you go. See, I told y'all my story.
With the parts that I added in, because that's not a lie.
Boo.
So what happened with the car accident? Who was that with?
Oh, I was in Washington State, and we had just had a bad ice storm, a snowstorm, and I was heading back out to work. I think it was a nice little freeze over the night before, and I hit black ice. Somebody cut me off. Terrible lady. Cut me off. And so I flipped my car a couple of times.
Flipped
About
it.
5-ish times, and went right into a ditch. The good thing was that a couple who was getting ticketed on the other side spotted my car flipping and was interrupted the police and was like, "Sir, did you not see that car?"
Oh, my
I know this ticket is important and all, but
There's someone dying over there.
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so he ended up calling it in, and then I found my phone, and I was on the phone with my best friend, and she was like, Holly, and so I pick up my phone, and I was like, I'm gonna call you back. I just got in a car accident. And she was like, oh my gosh. And so I don't know who I called. I think I was about to call work and say, hey, I'm going to be late. But
a little late.
She called my mom. So she did a better job than me. And my mom got there really fast. So
That's crazy. You make it out without any injuries?
just scratches.
Wow.
Yeah, God is good.
Whew, that is a blessing.
Yeah.
Okay, Larry, last chance for a few extra plugs for the story, or is that it?
I mean, that's mostly true. I do remember that the weekend that we actually reconnected was a race weekend for me. And so I was working through the process of getting my professional racing license. And so, of course, like things have to do, my car had a sway bar snap, and so I was out for the rest of the weekend on like Saturday midday. So I'd lost a lot of money, but I decided since I had some extra time, I would give her a call, and apparently that was the first time that I'd ever called her on a weekend, and so that stood out
Monday
to her.
through Thursday.
Yeah.
Friends.
So it stood out to her, and that's one of the reasons why things got more serious, because I actually made that phone call on the weekend.
So a solid chunk of metal that goes across your car.
Yeah.
How does that snap?
Yeah, right? So I was going through a right-hander, right angle, and at about 90, it's like a 90-mile-an-hour right-hand turn into a back straight. You easily hit like 130, 140 on it. And so I'm going through the turn, I feel it. Things get different, and I start hearing, that metal doing its thing, and so I'm like, oh, this probably isn't good. I think I'm gonna pull over. Yeah, it was a good time to do that.
Oh, sounds like double blessing going on.
Indeed, yeah, it could have got a lot worse. A lot of guys had a rough time in that same corner that weekend.
It's so funny. He took a picture of it, and I was like, you should have kept it so we could hang it up above our kids. If it wasn't for the sway bar, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, right.
Some people have the love fern.
That's right. A sway
Snap
bar.
sway bar.
That's right. Exactly. It means something, right?
Love sway bar. That's awesome. Well, it sounds like a great story. Lots of blessings and things that were meant to be. Next part, we're going to go into pet peeves. Do either of you have pet peeves? None or unknown or unknown?
I know what mine is.
Oh, okay.
But ladies first.
Is it your pet peeves for yourself?
No, it's definitely.
You might want to tread lightly, sir. So I'll say I used to have pet peeves where he would not pick up his stuff. Like, and here's the catch. The catch is that he still does it today. So he rolls his socks off his feet, and then where he takes them off is where they live until someone collects them. And usually now I let him do it, but I used to be so angry to clean up behind him. And now I just let him do it because, hey, you made choices. I'll be washing these clothes, but these won't get clean because you put them where you put them.
Man, I must have a lot of different pet peeves. I feel like every year there's a different one that I didn't know about. So I'm just learning about this the same time as you.
You didn't know.
I've totally said this.
That's so funny.
Oh, no.
Adriana was just saying on TikTok, she saw a thing about how all males don't put the clothes in the hamper, but right next to it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you don't do that. And then she looked down, and sure enough, they're right there. But it's funny, though, because I feel like it always has a reason, right? There's always a reason.
I don't know what that would be.
I have clean clothes in the hamper.
For me, we wear the uniform all day.
Yes.
So I get to wear clothes for 3 hours.
Yeah,
so a lot of times those are put on the floor on a stratetic position to be worn later because they're not dirty.
Right. You didn't go outside.
3 hours just sitting chilling. But I probably should put them folded or some other place, but I'm like, I have a reason.
Yeah, and you already have a system, so
Yeah.
why change it if it works?
On the floor next to the bed on my side is the clean, kind of dirty, but not dirty.
Sounds logical.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
So, Larry, what do you got?
Oh boy. So mine has been the same probably for a long time. So as I stated earlier, I was
too
going
perfect.
through. Oh boy.
That's what it is.
That's it.
That's his pet peeve.
So I stated earlier that I was going for my race license, right? And so one of the things that I feel like I'm pretty decent at is driving. I'm very confident in my ability to handle a vehicle. But this woman here ensures that I know everything that is going on around me. That light is green. Don't hit that guy. There's a parking space
You
right
always
there.
tell me you don't see the guy. So I assist. You said this big bar is my way.
That was the old car. None of these new ones have issues. I have these little windows
true.
now. It's all good. So yeah, I pretty much am told how to drive on a very regular basis.
I try to stop.
I think
But then he does
part,
something to show me that he can't see.
I think the best part is when the person that's assisting you with the driving makes you extra nervous and it makes the problem worse.
Yeah.
And it's always the, oh!
Yeah, it's always
And then
that,
that's
right?
what causes the,
Right.
Nate,
there was
that
no
sounds
problem.
like something that you're familiar with.
yeah. Oh, don't do that. It's like, I was good until that explanation. It was all crazy. But, okay, so we've got a pet peeve on either side. Do you guys do anything to help mitigate, or are you guys kind of just rocking it and living with it sounds like?
I think, like he said, he voices his dread of me giving him feedback during his driving.
Co-piloting.
Yes. And so I try to hold it back. I try to rein it in. Absolutely.
Oh, that's nice.
I try. And then when I don't, it's because I've forgotten.
Or you feel like you're going to die.
You feel like you're
Thank
gonna
you.
die.
Or my foot is already stepping on the brake.
The
in
imaginary
the passenger
one
seat.
on your... Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
Like those cars in Driver's Ed where they had the extra one. I'm like, let's just do that in all cars. It'd be kind of cool. It's interactive. I get to play too.
But yeah, I think I've adjusted by literally, he'll get tired of those socks there one day and then he'll pick them up.
One day I will.
Good stuff. Next up, we got expectations. Over your wonderful 11 years of marriage, what are some of the expectations that have kind of changed?
So for me, I think when we got married, I was definitely thinking, oh my goodness, my chivalrous husband has arrived. And he will mow the lawn, take out the trash. He'll fix cars in the driveway. He'll also wash the cars. And then he'll go fill them up with gas. And all of this stuff, right? Because he's going to take care of everything. And I'll just, be Susie and keep house inside, except for cooking. Don't ask me to cook.
What are you doing?
The house is clean. What do you want?
We're starving.
Hey, we're ordering. Anyway, so the expectation, right, has adjusted from that because now I am like, oh, he forgot the trash. So instead of me getting angry, I'm grabbing the trash on my way out the house, right? I am doubling back just in case recycle was forgotten, because they're so back to back, right? And so on. It's less probably stress on him because he didn't even know that I had an expectation of such. We went through marital counseling when we first, premarital counseling, right? And I think they were talking about expectations, and my expectation was that he knew my expectations, and so I was like,
to be expected on.
yeah,
Reading
why
minds.
would you not know why can't you read my mind? Why don't you know?
Yeah.
Right? But definitely discovered that I needed to adjust and participate where he just wasn't probably feeling the exact same way. Like I definitely think that he is all about taking care of the cars, right? He's gonna make sure that my beautiful headlights were replaced. Glory. I look amazing driving down the road now. And that makes a big difference, right? I let him do what he does best, and that's definitely care for the cars. But everything else, I've been able to say what I need from him rather than just expect him to do it.
And especially with you both working, I think that's another big thing. I think a lot of times we have the older style of stay-at-home mom or, whatever that may look like. But now that a lot more people are both working, then a lot more stuff has to be divvied up, shared, and hopefully into things that people enjoy. I know we both hate the laundry, so that kind of sucks. So no one wants to do that one. But
that's ironic.
If there is stuff that one actually enjoys, that's interesting. Larry?
Yeah, so actually, it's funny that you bring up laundry. That's the one thing that I will make sure that I always leave for her, because for whatever reason, she loves it. She enjoys it. It brings her happiness.
Peace.
So I don't touch that. And, I'll wash the dishes, try to clean up every now and then around the house and stuff. But she's a bit of a do-it-all. So even if I find something, she'll still find something else to do. So it's kind of difficult to run down the list and knock things out for her, even though I like to try to do that for her. I know she's just going to find another way to busy herself with that time, which is kind of unfortunate. I want her to be able to sit down and relax. But I don't think that's one of the things that gives her sanctuary. So I think the most important thing with our expectations is we try to regularly have talks about what we need, especially every time we PCS. What's the top of the list right now? Because those things change. Like, I have a crazy commute now, and so I don't get back home as fast as I used to, and so that kind of factors into what time we have available for what and how we kind of rearrange our lives. So I think every time we PCS, we try to attack that again, and in between, we try to make sure that we're talking to each other to remember each other and what we need from each other.
Yeah, I think expectations are a really interesting topic, and it kind of makes me think as you guys were talking through some things, even though it's slightly off the topic, but expectations of what marriage is really supposed to look like. Because I was previously married, didn't quite work out, and so it's interesting because I remember thinking, as a kid or growing up, you had Disney and all these ones that were like, kind of like you had started to talk about the person riding in on the white horse and saving the day and everything was going to be perfect and whatnot. And so one thing I've found in life, it seems like it's coming up more and more the last few years, is balance. Everything is balance. So my first marriage really had difficult times, and we'd ride to work and back because we worked in the same office and not even be able to talk. And we had a lot of difficulties and things like that. And I remember thinking, well, this is the way it is. It's just difficult, Everyone has challenges and everyone fights. And so it's not until, I met Adriana and, moved on to this new life where it was like, this is closer to what it should have been. And so even though we have challenges and ups and downs, it wasn't painful. And so that's where I think it's interesting that you don't know what you're supposed to know because you've never experienced it yet. So that expectation is really difficult, where it's not going to be roses. It's not going to be, super painful every day, somewhere in the middle, and that balance kind of finding there. So yeah, kind of interesting. Yeah, knowing the expectation for what right looks like, which I'm sure is some type of balance, right? In the middle.
Yeah. So, you're trucking along, but can we ask you questions?
Oh, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got for him. What we got? Do you know? Oh, this is wonderful. Do you know your wife's needs, and how do you feel those?
Absolutely. So I think this is an ongoing thing as, we talk about mental fitness as we have in the other episodes. It's an ongoing thing that never really stops. So I continually try to work on this. She has words of affirmation. So she had a difficult childhood, and she was told that she was dumb, stupid, and a lot of words that I'm not supposed to use. So censor those. I'll edit because they, trigger and they bring up things of being lesser than her whole life. And so the biggest thing for her is reassurance and things like that. And I'm not as vocal as I should be to fulfill that need. Try to work on it. So we've implemented some things, a few different things. She has her love box, which is a device that sits on her desk, and I can send things to that, kind of like a digital postcard. And so it's just a reminder of that she's doing good and that I love her and things like that. We've also tried the NFCs, like that same system and thing that you use to scan your credit card at the bank, or not the bank, the checkout at the teller. They have some smaller things of those. It's a small disc. And so she has one at her desk, and then I have one at work. And actually, when I place my phone down, it automatically sends her a text. So we do some things to try to fulfill the need and game the system a little bit. But just making sure that we're remembering to touch base with each other and things like that. But always trying to communicate more and communicate better, because that's what she needs. So I'm learning to do that better.
That's awesome. I like the intentionality in it.
Yeah.
To even set up a system that's incredibly advanced.
Yeah.
What you guys have, but I
AI,
love it.
Millennials.
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
good
keep
stuff.
it fresh, and didn't down her for what she needed, right? So many people will just say, "Oh, I don't understand that," and abandon the thought. But
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of my favorite books is Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. And one of the things that she uses in the book is called the beach ball effect. I think that's what she calls it, hopefully. And that's where it's hard to relate to someone else in business. And so a lot of her references are business related, but they're easy to apply across just general life. So in the business aspect, the person looks down, they see red because they're standing on the red portion of the ball, and they're having a hard time relating and understanding the person that's standing in the green. So in the example, I think it's like the person that works in finance versus the person that buys equipment. The person that's in finance is like, we can't afford this. This is too expensive. And the other person is like, no, I need this. This will help me accomplish my job. But all they're looking down is continuing to see their green or red or whatever color it is they are on the ball. But if they were to step out and, go into the green when they're the red and understand from their point of view, it really helps them understand. So it's kind of the same concept, just understanding that everyone was raised differently in completely different backgrounds and will have different needs.
yeah, that's good.
So that reminds me of there's a psychologist, John Gottman, who talks about love maps and understanding your spouse and where they came from and what their childhood was like, the things that were difficult for them and all that, kind of gives you a good basis to understand where they are and how they are as a person now. Like you said, the things that are trigger words for her and where that comes from. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to kind of make your, the way you handle yourself a little bit more malleable, a little bit more different from how you might naturally operate, just so that you can make sure that you're helping her to feel comfortable and feel like she's in a sanctuary. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'll go back to you for another question, and then we'll bounce another one back to me. Next one for you. What does partnership look like in a marriage?
You want to start that one? Want me to start that one?
You can start.
So partnership, I think that goes back to needs a little bit, actually. So understanding what I'm good at and what she's good at, and we kind of try to play to those strengths. So if I'm if I'm better at car stuff, then I'll handle that. If I'm better at handling finances, which we take that one equally, actually. But if I'm better at finances, then I'll make sure that I handle that. But we try to play to our strengths and understand that we are partners in this. If I fail at my side, she fails. And so it would behoove me to do the best that I can do on my stuff, because it keeps us healthy. If I fail, she fails. And I can't allow that. So I try to make sure that she also feels supported in the things that she does. So I know she's running off to work to do all the things that she has to do as a chaplain and be special and be awesome and all this. And I want to make sure that she knows when she comes home, she's got somebody in her corner, you know? And so even in what she's doing, I'm still her partner in that. Even though I'm not there, you know, I try to provide what I can for her when she's still out. So she knows that, hey, she's not in this alone. As much as it might feel like she's the only person in her office at times and she's the only person feeling what she feels, there's still somebody cheering her on. And I try to make sure that I remind her of that whenever I can. Because I understand what it's like to deal with stuff, difficult stuff, and feel like you're all by yourself in it. And if we're supposed to be partners, we're supposed to be a team, then I don't want her to ever feel that way, if at all possible.
So really, partnership just sounds like support, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being there.
Team.
It's another good one.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So what do you have, Holly?
I'm just going to co-sign.
Partnership on the loan.
Yeah.
Co-sign.
I added in team.
Yeah, team is good. I think that's probably the core of that whole thing, just being there for each other. And another aspect of that is probably being intentional and asking the question, like kind of we talked about earlier, the expectations, and knowing what the person wants to know or doesn't want to know. You guys kind of work together on the finances, but other people, I'm sure if it's taken care of, it's good. I don't really care. Don't really tell me about it because, like we talked about different experiences and Ray's, like if, finances were always rough, maybe don't want to hear about it. It's squared away. It's taken care of. The bills are being paid. I don't want to see the numbers on the page. Maybe that's overwhelming to some. So probably just having the conversation on, what you do or do not want to hear. And that comes together because I think there's probably no 50-50, which is one thing that's commonly, I think, misunderstood. We talk about work-life balance. We talk about partnership, and they're wanting to see these even balances where it all comes together, but it's probably never like that. It's probably, I'm sure, more of a 45-55 or whatever it may be, either in, number of hours or, how much effort it takes for different things. So as long as you're there for each other. Next question is, do you believe in the 7-year itch?
I do ish.
So
I say that just because I think some people have never heard of it. And so they're just, it doesn't have to be 7 years. It could be 5 years, 2 years. Someone's getting antsy, but it's because something's missing, that you're not investing, you're not making sure you're being intentional and keeping the fire alive, right? If you're not pouring into that relationship, then you're getting exactly what you're putting in out.
You got to keep on dating, right?
Yeah, which is difficult when kids come along. Oh, children. Have them, they say.
It's funny.
But absolutely. We ended up...
How many years are you at?
This is 11.
11.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did touch on that in the year back earlier. Okay, 11 years.
Yes.
So did you feel that at a 7 then?
So at 7 years, I felt like I knew him more that day than I knew him before, right? I think we heard couples say, I love you more today than ever before. And at that time, I think 7 years, we was in Colorado. So we were at the last assignment at that place, and the assignment was just, but Colorado was great. He got to break into his field. He actually joined another car club. He got his dream car. Like literally everything was roses for him. And then I felt like I was sinking just in quicksand for 3 years. And it was a challenge, but that didn't stop us from continuously pouring into this relationship. We did a great thing every Valentine's Day. We bought books that were just couples books. So I think one of them was a couples book to read before you go to bed, or the other ones were prayers and scriptures to pray over your spouse. And it was just something that we continuously spent and dedicated 28 days just to each other. And it just set the tone for the year to say, hey, I'm all in. I'm totally putting this uniform on every day. God help me. And going to a job that I literally just stare at the place and try not to cry just to walk into. But this didn't suffer. Yeah.
Complete side question, but did you ever have that moment where you had to take a real deep breath in your car before you walked in?
Absolutely.
My first year commissioning was really difficult. It was one of those things that the sticker shock was real. I was in smaller units, and I thought, between the flight chief and the flight commander and different things, I kind of knew what was happening on the other side. And boy, oh boy,
didn't really know.
Was definitely wrong on that one. So yeah, I remember that first year. It was pretty difficult. I used to park on the side of the clinic and sometimes have to take a few, probably more than a few, probably a full 10 minutes to take some deep breaths before walking in. It was pretty rough, but luckily things pass.
Yeah.
Oof.
Those seasons, that's why they're called a season, right?
I always like the metaphor of the roller coaster. There's ups and downs, and you never know what's going to happen. But at some point, you just got to throw your arms up, scream a little, and wait for the next thing to happen. Have fun. When you scream, if it's fun, terrifying, or sad, a good scream feels kind of good.
Yeah.
So, Larry, what do you think about the 7-year itch?
So, I'm not sure that it was even on my radar very much. I think once we got engaged is when I started hearing about the 7-year itch like that. I may have heard about it maybe once or twice. I think there was a movie that it came out, and that was about as far as it went for me. But I kind of got to this point. Me and one of the other guys who was in my in one of my classes at the time, because we were in grad school during the time we got engaged. And so one of the other guys who got engaged at that same time, me and him decided we were going to try to figure out, all of the things we could, just gather up as much wisdom as possible from married folks, divorced folks, anybody we could gather that might have some good insight. And so every week we would reconvene and share what we've gotten. And that was when I kept hearing, watch out for the first year, watch out for the third year, watch out for the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and every time we would say these things to each other and kind of relay this stuff, I remember, I wish I could take credit for it, but he actually said that, man, it's starting to sound like the year you stop trying is the hard year. And so that thing really stuck with me. We're 11 years in, and it's still puts chills to me, to think I have to continue trying. Every day that I wake up, I have to be intentional about loving my wife and make sure that she feels loved, because I don't want to stop trying. I don't want to see what that life looks like when things sour. So that's really stuck with me, man, and it's been super serious for me. There was some other wisdom that we gathered, make sure you tell her you love her every day, things like that. But I think continuing to try is just about one of the biggest things you can do.
Just being intentional.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good lesson, too, on gathering wisdom. You were kind of saying it slightly jokingly, but I think that's something that's super important on, reading. They say, if, you're a leader, you'll read, or, whatever thing that's cliche and rhymes. But I think that's something that's super important, is that other people have done things and have made lots of mistakes. Why make the mistake again? Yeah. So reading is definitely super important. I have a question. It's probably sort of an awkward question, but I want to throw it out there. So as a chaplain that hears people's problems and things that are going on in that confidential type realm, and then also as a relationship person that's taking counseling sessions and things like that. Do you think there's a point at which a relationship cannot move forward? Is there like a point of no return?
Yeah. I would say that there is. And I would say that that's the point when the other person turns away and walks away. Up until they walk away, there's always opportunity for it to work out. It can be on the rocks. You can be arguing every night. You can be doing all the stuff that sucks. You can be in the middle of all of it. But until that person has walked away from you, there's always an opportunity.
And by walking away, you don't mean physically.
Physically. When they're actually gone, once they've left. I think that's...
So I say it's not necessarily physical. Yeah. Just because I had a couple in my office and of course they arrived late, right? It was already late in the game. Fresh new baby rolled in right with them. And while she was present in the room, he was not. Right? Because he'd already mentally and emotionally left the relationship. And literally, while she was crying, there was, like, he handed her a tissue. And there was nothing there.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But
and then they got me to sign the ERD papers after that.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a little different. So my thought process is, though, that if that person is still in the room, there's still an opportunity, and I'm going to say it, there's still an opportunity for God to move on them.
Oh, no, I believe that. You need them to believe it, too.
Oh, of course. But my thought is, as long as they're able to be around that person still, I feel like there's always room for a change of heart.
They cared somewhat, I guess they got in the room.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had a bunch of couples sit in my office and be in a bad way. And one of the things that I'll always point out to them is that both of them are in the room. If this relationship was as bad as it can get, there would only be one person here. Just simply by showing up, there's a shred of hope.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good stuff. Okay, next question for me.
Okay. So, sir, what's the most difficult thing you've endured in your marriage?
Oh, this one's easy. So an overseas move during COVID.
Yeah.
This one's super easy because Adriana does not have any experience in the military, so it was her first BCS, so that already makes it completely crazy.
Yeah.
Her brother is in the reserve, so she has a very tiny amount of like seeing someone in a uniform, but no parents and grandparents where got used to like moving around and all those different things. So really no connection. So the first PCS overseas and then COVID, it was just the crazy trifecta of trying to move through that. Really just the out processing was insane. I had to tell her multiple times that PCSs are crazy.
Just not this way.
They will never be this crazy.
Yeah.
Everything was super difficult. All the civilians on base. So I was in AFMC. So AFMC is Air Force Materiel Command, and they're notorious for having a massive amount of civilians. So some people say a million civilians. They try to play off the acronym. So when the base shut down, we initially went to this blue silver team where like a lot of people either went home or went to split shifts.
Yeah.
And it was crazy the amount of people that did not put on an away message or a forwarding phone number or anything.
Yeah.
It was like they did an all call on Friday or whatever day it was, and the civilians, it seemed like they just walked out and just went home. I'm sure, fear, and there's a lot of different things going on, and it's not a bash on civilians, definitely part of our overall team and make things happen and good continuity. But it was just really difficult to get signatures, to do a lot of things that we needed to do. We needed to get the kids' passport and no-fee passport, and overseas just so much more complicated than a regular one. So I'd done one to Guam, but it wasn't a different country, and so it was sort of similar, but definitely the trifecta was crazy. First overseas move for her, COVID, and then the overseas aspect of it was just crazy. But I think, which we'll probably touch on in a little bit, but both of us like to keep things fun, and even when we're stressed and things like that, we be goofing and having a good time. So I think that's kind of how we got through that. I'm sure there was some difficulties, and we were frustrated and challenged and stressed at different points, but at some point usually we crack and get all goofy and start laughing, so it works out.
Yeah, that's good. That's what's needed, right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. We moved with the next, so y'all moved 2020 summer. Was that the minute that they said, okay, now people can move? Oh my gosh.
So we were waiting every day to figure out the stop movement was going to get lifted. It looked like we weren't going to move, but it was the end of July, and it was crazy because we did leave en route. So we went up to Mother's house in Vancouver, Washington, and so we were there, and then we weren't sure if we were going to have to stay there or go back because we'd already out processed the base. I don't even know how that works. So you get checked back in to Edwards.
Yeah.
And you can't send me apparently. And then if I stay at Mother's, are you just draining my leave and you're charging me? I don't even know how that would have even worked, but luckily it all worked out.
Good. Did they drain your leave?
I mean, the days that I used, but that was already planned. So we took 2 or 3 weeks because we knew we were leaving the country and whatnot. But if we would have got stuck, I don't know how that works. They just keep tallying them, I guess. That would have been rough. So I'm glad it worked out.
We had lots of friends that were stuck in between. One of my coworkers, he sent his family on, did not TMO, TMO, yeah. It was called something else, some of the J for us when we was coming over here. Anyway, did TMO, and I think he sold his house. And he was staying with one of our coworkers, and then the stop movement came, and he was stuck there for months. And his poor family, they were just devastated because he couldn't get to them without driving his own car, right? But the word was, don't move. So,
it was crazy. It's interesting to look back. I'm seeing some of the goofy pictures and stuff pop up because we just passed March. And so now every year in March, you would be seeing some crazy pictures of people wearing gallon jugs on their head and gas masks and the goofiest things. But it's interesting to think back of how many things had never occurred before.
Yeah.
It was so many things that we just didn't know how to handle. There's stop movements for certain things, for natural disasters and things like that have occurred, but those are short-lived and we kind of understand how they work. But a worldwide pandemic, really no way to know how that was going to play out. So how crazy.
Mess.
Yeah. Next question, a quick shift. How has life changed after having kids?
Remember when you were keep dating? Yeah, they're blockers. We just like to have conversation in the morning or in the night in conversation, and so do they. They too want to have conversation.
They want to be part of everything.
They want to be a part of it all.
They can hear for some reason when they're not supposed to hear. It's so weird. But then you tell them to do something, they can't hear nothing.
Can't hear a thing. Yeah, so the spontaneity has shifted. We have to.
That's what we're calling it.
That's what I'm going to call it, shift.
Completely dead, but
gut punch,
shifted.
But it has caused us to be creative, right? I remember it was Valentine's Day in 2015, and we have a picture of sitting. I think we were putting her to bed or something like that, and then we drank some wine to, just a little something, right? because we came from nothing with this little baby. And yeah, she gave us hugs and kisses goodnight. Her bedtime was terrible. It was like 10 at night. And then we just stayed up and finally talked and, clink, clink, but that was the reminder that, yes, this little tiny little lady was with us, but we need to now be more intentional, more dedicated, get more creative. So yeah, we started taking her. We were like, "Want to go out to eat? Yeah, let's go on a date." And then she'd be there, and we'd be like, "Here's a book. Here's your toys," And so she'd talk to us or try or babble, right? Meow, 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 meow. What you say? All right, me too. I love Daddy too. But yeah, that's how we were able to adjust. And then we added a little boy, and now they get to talk to each other while we're on a date.
Yes. I think this is a really good example. I think we've already mentioned it in the show before, but there's no reason not to bring this one up again, is the concept of the oxygen mask on the airplane, right? Taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. I think this is a prime example of making sure that the connection for the couple is taken care of, because if not, you're not going to be taking care of the kids. So almost a direct relationship to that oxygen mask falling.
Absolutely.
I mean, hopefully you're not getting to the oxygen mask, because that's not good.
Right. Things
Hopefully it's more proactive.
Right.
Do you have anything else on that, Larry?
So I remember when I've always wanted a family. I should preface this with that. I've always wanted a family, a wife who loved me, kids who loved me.
It worked
Somehow,
out.
yeah, right? Thanks to God. Appreciate it, God. So somehow, the second that she told me that she was pregnant, I freaked out. I felt like it was time to run. I had to go.
Oh. And physically leaving.
Yeah. We're talking about it, right?
Confessions.
I think it lasted all of about 15 seconds. And I think the only thing she saw was my eyes got big. And then they went back to regular. And I was like, wait a minute. This is what I wanted. What is happening? So, I mean, we did everything in the order that, everybody said you're supposed to do. Get married, have what I think was like 1 or 2 years we had. And then have a kid, right? So everything was as it should have been for the most part. We were still pretty broke, but still, it was the way it was supposed to be. So there shouldn't have been too much running around or trying to leave. But the thing that I think started to actually weigh on me was that spontaneity that she's talking about, that we had to figure out what to do with it. And I started to mourn the freedom that we had in our relationship and wonder, how are we gonna be able to manage, what's this gonna be? I'm gonna miss our normal. And she said something that I don't even know if she knew how big of a deal it was to me, but she said, this will be our new normal. And it was something freeing in hearing that, that yes, it's a change, but we'll manage it and it will be fine. And I'm not sure why I freaked out so much, but there was something that I needed in that statement that she made. And it's been true. Our new normal has been just fine. I've enjoyed it. I do love the one time a year when we take a trip by ourselves. We used to go on cruise ships every year, pre-COVID, right? And I would relish that, because that's that moment for us to be irresponsible. We can stay up late because there's no kids to put to bed. We can wake up late because there's no kids that are waking us up. Right. We can do what we want to do. But aside from that, I'm still able to enjoy my life with my wife and my kids. So nothing truly needed to be mourned. But it took her saying that before it kind of clicked for me.
Yeah, it's interesting how your fun changes. I think of at the clinic, walking around and whatnot, and hearing the younger airmen or whoever it may be as Friday's approaching, and they're talking about heading downtown. And hitting clubs and bars and things like that. And I'm thinking about some PJs and movie night, which we do.
That is me.
We'd be doing movie night, 2 or 3 times a month, almost every Friday, I think, is some type of movie night. Pajamas, popcorn, and everyone in the king-size bed. So it's interesting how your fun definitely shifts over the years. But now when I get invited to anything at like 9, like, that is so late.
So late.
I'm trying to be in bed with that popcorn.
Invading popcorn time.
Yep. That's what's sounding good to me. I'm glad we're able to, shift our fun to different things.
That's right.
Last question for you guys. What are ways spouses can fight fair?
Yeah. So I'll start if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I'll let it. I'll allow it.
So with fighting fair, I think it starts with knowing the things that get to your spouse. Like we were talking about earlier, like you actually brought up that you knew the things that were triggers for your wife.
Or how to push buttons.
How to push buttons.
Should be doing
right.
that to me.
Oh, wait a minute.
Good, she's not on here.
So knowing those things, I think, firstly, so you don't press those buttons. Because if I win and you lose, we both lose. So
Not really a win.
It's not a win at all. So in your fighting, there's no below the belt. Because you decided you wanted this relationship. And so any sort of fighting that's not fair is just hurting you. So why do it? Why not? If you're going to be married, why not be happily married? So if you're going to fight to resolve it. Figure out what the issue is. Let's resolve the issue. Let's not fight when we're angry and try to quote unquote fix it, because you're not going to do it. You're just taking punches, taking jabs.
Don't go to bed angry.
So you don't want to, right? There's those moments where you're a little angry and then you have to roll over and good night, But at least you're trying, trying to keep the communication open, Like, yeah. But to know, these are the things that get to my wife. Let me not say those things, because if I want this conversation to progress and I want us to get somewhere and move on to our next issue and not have this be the same one that we argue about every day, then let me fight the way that I need to fight. And that fighting means fighting for your marriage, not fighting against your spouse.
And probably more outward, I would think, too, like save the energy and whatnot for finances or, an outward struggle that you're having, you guys against the world as opposed to at each other. There's going to be things that are going to come up. Life is crazy, so you might as well use the energy to fight the world. Indeed. Not like fight the world, that sounds bad, but take on the challenges that come up.
No, that's exactly right. Like we tried to make a agreement when we first started that we would keep our issues external. So we're going to try to make sure we're good. Between me and her, we're fine. And the world will try its level best to do what it can do to make our life more difficult. But that's the world doing it. It's not us doing it. There's a painting by Jack Vetriano. And it's this couple that's dancing in the rain at the beach, ironically enough. I'm not sure why they're at the beach, but it's a beautiful painting. And they're dancing. It's raining. They have a butler and a maid in the background trying to rush over to them to provide umbrellas and stuff to keep them dry. And they're not even thinking about it because they're so in love. They're just into their relationship. And they're trying to make sure that this is where I want to live. This is what I want to be. I'm not even concerned with what the world is doing because it's going to try. It's going to try to rain on me. Doesn't even matter because we're good. And that's kind of what I wanted our relationship to look like. She was so awesome as to get me that painting, and it's hanging up in our bedroom right now. And it means something to me to see that because it's very indicative of the role that I think that our marriage plays.
Holly? second cosign.
I will co-sign what he said.
Ditto.
Right. I like, so Fighting Fair, our church back in Atlanta used to have fight nights. And it was just so much fun to see the couples come together because you could tell that in the room, it was just a mixed bag of what everybody was dealing with, from brand new, newly engaged, newlyweds to on the verge, right? Probably didn't come home 3 nights in a row, but we're here tonight and we're going to try to work this out. And so it started off with dinner, right? Keep it light. And then they started having hard-hitting conversations where they were talking about sex, money, second marriages, step kids. Like, they just started going in on all the hard-hitting conversations. And we just were like, I'm so glad that they're talking about it, right? Just where do you get to talk about it with other people other than therapists, right? And it was awesome to have everybody finally let their guard down in that room. That's where I just got to get immersed in the environment of Fighting Fair, right? Yeah, because we're not fighting particularly each other. We're fighting to stay afloat together. And so I enjoy that. We even made the stage into a boxing ring.
A boxing ring.
Oh, we're so corny. It was awesome. And it just was so, it's the picture that I see now. It's us getting in the ring together, not to fight each other, but to fight the situation.
That's really good stuff. It reminds me of Larry's episode with me. He had asked, like, what do you want to see out of the podcast? And my answer was something along the lines of being able to have conversations and hopefully something that's said and comes through the airwaves connects with somebody. And so the other ones we've been talking about mental fitness. But if it's relationships as well, hopefully there'd be something, if it were ever to help a single person, all of it would be worth it. The man hours, the setting up, the editing, all those things, it's all worth it if somebody gets some help along the way. And really, I think you kind of touched on it, like, where do you get to do this? Why is it something where we have such a difficult time having these conversations? We should be able to talk about it. And hopefully throughout the podcast, we can continue breaking stigmas and having good conversation. But last questions for me.
Yes. So, how do you maintain a positive energy in your marriage and in y'all's environment?
I think the biggest thing for us is we have the bonus of both being weird. So I think that we do enough, like, odd things and spontaneous things that really keeps things light a lot of times, even when things are kind of stressful and there's a lot going on. She'll throw on YouTube on the TV and randomly dance on, a Tuesday night, and she'll have a dance party with Alexa on full volume with Aubrey or, just some things like that. So having the partnership that we have where we're always doing goofy stuff, I think really lightens the mood. And it probably wouldn't work for everybody. Maybe that would be annoying for some people if, like, that was the other person was more uptight, but we're different enough where we do different things, but then similar enough where things like that are kind of hilarious, and it kind of breaks the stressful times and makes it so that it's not so difficult.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing this time is trying to make sure you're taking care of yourself, your spouse, and really being on the same team as we talked about, being in the ring together, fighting those external forces. One of the biggest things we talked about on this one, and also some other episodes where we talked about mental fitness, is that intentionality. I think that's probably the most important part if you're going to drill this episode down, or any of the challenges that we have, is being intentional, putting things on the calendar. If that's your appointment with your friendly neighborhood chaplain, and, getting things off your chest, proactive with your mental fitness, or putting dates on the calendar, or the cruise once a year, taking the time to be intentional. Life is going to keep moving. Time keeps moving. If you're not intentional and set some time aside and block calendars. I've heard that saying. They say if you want to know what's important to someone, check their checkbook and their calendar. That's a very true statement. If they're not blocking time for things, they probably don't really care. So thanks for coming on the show. You guys got any final words?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
This is fun, and gazing into his eyes just makes me fall in love all over again.
Yes. Points.
That's what we're really here for, expanding love. Well, thank you for listening to Mind Matters. If it's on your mind, it matters. Thank you for coming out and having some conversations with us. If anyone would like to jump on the podcast and have some conversations on mental fitness, their AFSC, or any other conversations you would like, if it's on your mind, it matters to us. So let's get together and have a conversation. Thank you. We'll see you next time.